Hello everyone, Chris here. I am on the boat working on a little project, and this is one of the reasons why we keep a complete spare wheel unit on and motor for our autopilot on the boat at all times, because they suck. They don't actually suck. They're just made for a significantly smaller boat. So you run into a situation where if you buy the wrong, like if you try to buy an aftermarket belt, the aftermarket belts are black, and they break, and the ones you buy from Ray Marine are like 10 times the cost of the junker ones, but are worth it. We found that out the hard way. What else did we find out? Oh, when you're sailing in conditions that are just a wee bit too rough for the autopilot, you'll hear it, you'll hear the gears sort of jump. And if you do that too much, you end up having to buy a new one of these. And, ooh, there's our new one. Because, yeah, they do break eventually if you push it too much. And so these are like 150 bucks. Holy moly. But cheaper than like having to replace the whole thing, because the whole thing is like $700 or $800. So yeah, I now have a big giant mess because you have to push this thing up through the hole. So this will end up going in there. So that goes in there. The gearbox, the gear thing goes on there, and then this goes back on, and then you put all of your, I put the ball bearings in my teacup because I've switched to iced tea. And then the covers for those go in, and yeah, anyway. Yeah, so this thing seized completely because we were doing, yeah, several years of pushing too much. But we're gonna save up and hopefully get the actuator arm autopilot this summer. So we'll see how we do saving. Anyway, I want to get back at this. Let's see how we do. All right, well, I got it on. Getting it in there is easy. You just have to take one of these off and it slides right in. Put the gear back on, and getting these ball bearings back underneath their tracks is a pain in the rear end. And I ended up having to use a very small thing just so I could get in there and maneuver them. And now it's time for the belt. So the belt goes in, and it actually ends up going like around the gears and then up underneath those things. And we're gonna get that done and pray. All right, so the secret to that is you do that before you put these little spacers back on. And you have to wiggle the gear to get it on there. Anyway, let's get those on. And this goes back on right about like so, only a little nicer. All right, back together at last. And into the tote she goes, ready for the next emergency, which hopefully never comes. We've got about a week left before we leave Fernandina Beach and start our move north. So there's all kinds of these little projects like that one that are really important to do, but not very urgent. Like, it wasn't making me unable to be here while we were here, but it is stuff that needs to happen before we leave. Another one was adding safety straps to our fridge. We had a knockdown off the coast of Cape Cod this fall, and the whole fridge like shot off and broke at the little lip, and just, it was a mess. And I realized that was really, really stupid. Those straps are important. And then what else? We have to change the oil in the motor and other random stuff like that. But I wrote all the jobs down in my little notebook, so we're gonna get cranking on those this weekend, see how many we can get done. One thing I still have not done is put in our bypass switch from shore power or generator, because the generator goes in the shore power connector, or the inverter. So our outlets are shore power only, which means we're still running an extension cord for the ice maker. Yay! Anyway, I will do that this summer because I can deal with the whatever it's called, extension cord, while we're at anchor or on a mooring ball for a little bit longer. And I don't want to rush through doing that tie-in because, you know, electricity is something to take your time with. Anyway, that's going to be a summer project, I think. And I'm going to go through my list of other projects for this next week. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work. Hope everyone is doing what they can to make sure that they are safe. I just got water all over the nav desk because I was moving the ice maker tray. Anyway, oof, there we go. Anyway, hope everyone is having a good night. Hope everyone's weekend is off to a good start, and get those safety jobs done before you head offshore. Anyway, I will chat with you later. Bye.